Good day to ladies and gentlemen. My name is Danny Tan, and here we are for the Creative Dialogue under the Dancing Festival 2020. It's with great pleasure to have my wonderful friend from USA, Mr. Vincent, to join us. Say hello, Vincent.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning.
And thank you for joining us. In fact, I have known Vincent for more than 15 years. Our last time that we had performance together was actually at the Edinburgh Fringe. And I'm just very happy to connect with him again and also to have him to be able to participate in this wonderful international residency project under the Dancing Festival. And first of all, I would like Vincent to share with us who are you, where you are, and what are you doing?
Fantastic. I am calling in from Towson, Maryland, the land of the Piscataway tribe. And here I am a professor of dance at Towson University in the Baltimore, Towson area. I was dancing professionally with Liz Lerman Dance Exchange. And after that, I started my own work, VT Dance. But before that, I was actually teaching music in South Carolina in public school and dancing at that time.
Yeah. So for your upcoming project, Mugshots, this is a very interesting international residency program that we actually have been offering under dancing, because prior to that, we used to invite international artists to reside in Singapore and to research, and of course finally to present live with the audience. But now with the COVID, we are adapting to a new normal and presenting us in a very refreshing perspective. And so with your Mugshot, would you like to share with us what exactly your project is about?
Sure. Here in the States and all over the world, I'm sure, we've been affected by this coronavirus pandemic. And it really came to a halting stop with arts and work and just the normal life that we knew. And at the same time, there was this uprising around the killing of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery. And so there was such an upheaval of energy and emotions and in the States. And I was feeling a lot of this. And I think part of that was also due to these are people of color and the unjust actions against police violence against people of color. And I was thinking about what does it mean being a male of color, a black male of color, and a black gay male of color as well. And they were showing a lot of the photos or mugshots of these police officers who were involved in the shootings, as well as these mugshots and the photos of those who died at the hands or of the knee of police brutality. And so this mugshot ideas just kept floating around my head, and I was noticing that I was drinking a lot of tea, ginger tea or coffee, and there was such care of holding the mug that I was drinking out of. And so one morning I just took a selfie of me holding this mug of tea and sipping and smelling the aroma and trying to find some calmness within that. And so that's how it all started, and realizing, wow, this mug that I have, just by random, it was Matter, Matter. And that was from a production that I did with Liz Lerman Dance Exchange many years ago. And so that whole word matter threw me into thinking about, so how does my life matter? What matters to me on all these different levels? So it just spun me into this creative process of thinking about the word matter, but also my life, and also how can I find hope and some peace and in the world that is so agitated with me right now, or with find so much agitation in the world right now.
Yes, I can feel you. I understand you. You're trying to search for light, positive energy, hope, and inspirations during these challenging and stressful moments, isn't it? And I'm kind of very interesting, very excited about the kind of creative expressions you look upon. For example, you involve a lot of poems, and you have a variety of marks, and also you have different collaborators to come into, whether they are photographers or in terms of a videographer. So I'm quite curious about how did you make such a choice of selecting poems, marks, videography, photography, and put into your artistic expressions? I mean, this is what we want to do for our international residency, about getting out of the box apart from just movement within the studio. But what are these combination elements that come in to support your authentic voice about what matters?
Yeah, most definitely. You know, um, so after turning inward and to find moments of and sources of grace and light, these particular, I love collaborating first and foremost, because I feel that in collaboration I find so much about the things I don't know, and I find out more about the art that I create through working with other people, and sometimes, artists, they go in the studio and they can do the same process over and over again. But for me, I'm interested in having different and unveiling different processes of working. And so there are some collaborators that I have a long time relationship with, and they have been with me in various processes throughout many projects. And one of them is he's an animator, a game designer, and a dear friend of mine, another professor at a university here. And so he's done a lot of video and animation work for my works before. And we were talking about these mugshots, and he said, wow, I would love to photograph you again with them. And so we started a whole new series of retaking these photographic images with natural light. And then another collaborator that I've been working a lot with, Michelle Love the Poet Nelson. She is so intuitive, and I think we've been working together for so long that she knows, she senses, she intuits about art. Even before we started working together, I found this in her work. And so I shared with her this particular Mugshots project, and I gave her some images, and she said, well, let me just riff off of these, let me give you some poems. And then this videographer that has come into my VT dance circle recently was actually a former student of mine, and in my men's class, and he came to me last year and said, I've been doing this video work, and I would love to see how I can help you. And he did a promo video for me for another project, and it was absolutely beautiful. And he's so sincere in his work. He's so courageous in his work, and it was that immediate attraction of working together came there. And so that's how these collaborators came into view. And yeah, I just love working with other artists of other disciplines to help create art.
What amazed me is in regards to the outcomes of your international residency. As I shared, that we can't fly artists into Singapore due to COVID reason, but however, it actually has provided new impetus for research materials. For instance, you have so many poems, and you have so many marks in display in terms of photographic outputs. And you also have tried working with videographers. And I'm just curious about how do you collectively bring all these ingredients into your solo piece, which you actually have done the film, or rather in terms of the documentation of your final solo, based on all these rich resources which you have created with your collaborators. So how does that come into a final output of a solo presentation?
Yeah, and actually, a lot of the moments, I really believe the universe put them in orbit for me. The videographer, well, the photographer, after we took all of the photos, we said, well, let's just create some images just with the mugs. And so that was a huge spark of creativity there, because when we just spilled them out on the table, and he took just these interesting images of them from different angles and picking up some of the particular ones. So that fed into my thinking about this solo, having these mugs just spread out and spilled out over the floor. And then the poet, of course, she did a stanza for each mug, and I took one line from each of those poems to create a whole new poem that was kind of a synthesis of all of those poems. And then the videographer he's so interested in the cinematography of movement and dance, and how a dancer sees and what they see and how they see it in a three-dimensional place. And and the poet is in California. the videographer is here in Towson, and so is the photographer. So we had conversations online about what all of this was meaning to each of them. And all of that information fed into the physical solo of spillage. And so it came together in such a way that I don't know if I could have done solely by myself. And that's, to me, the beauty of the collaboration, of how it happens.
And this is also, to me, the beauty of COVID-19 that has brought upon, drawing us closer in proximity through online version or through online capabilities, you see. So finally, what would you like the audience to get out of your multidisciplinary approach of your what matters, So because there's so many ways of viewing your works, whether it is through the poems, whether it's through the marks, whether it is through the very interesting program booklet that we'll be designing, or even, of course, by watching your solo dance performance. So it's a very rich, I would say, context of your research. So how would you want the audience to view your works, or understand you, or appreciate from which angle?
Yeah, that's such a big question, and honestly, the audience, what I really love about an audience, a viewer of something, a viewer of art, is that I acknowledge and I appreciate what they bring into the space. So when an audience comes in, they're bringing into that space experiences that I may not have had personally, but there's some similarities that may unite us. And so hopefully when they see this solo, they see these different mugs with different glimpses of words or images on them, and it may resonate for them in some way that gives them a chance to remember, to think back, to reminisce, to dream. And hopefully it also encourages them to go to their cabinet and pull out a mug and tell a story or write a poem, And so I do feel that once I you know, when I get an opportunity to perform this live, and even maybe finding a way to do this virtually, performing it, is to ask the audience maybe that question. Find a mug and think about what the words on it may mean, or the images may mean, or what is in the mug, and write a poetic device. Maybe write a haiku, or write a rhyming poem, or something that will bring to life this concrete image and what it may how it may speak to them.
This is what I like about the International Residency project that you're working on, because it actually has opened up many potential and many possibilities to engage with the audience. And also, it's not just about appreciating the art form of dance, but it also has some kind of thinking processes leading them to have some self-reflection and appreciation. So thank you so much for the time. And what we'd like to do is, of course, to invite our international friends and audiences to join us for DANZINC 2020. And certainly, please look forward to Vincent Thomas' solo, which I'm really happy to present his work under this festival. And see you soon. See you. Thank you so much, Vincent. Ciao.